I am, of course, excited for today's guest, and we got to meet in person for the first time. That's how we know each other in London. We both went to the Bridging the Gap conference that was all about alienation and the voice of the child and how to lower the level of conflict. And so let me see if I can get Crystal on here. Here she is. So Crystal, I'm going to invite you on. Just accept the invite. Presentation. And it was two women talking about the significance of the voice of the child when it comes to deciding their schedule. And Crystal, I remember you almost leapt out of your chair being like, wait, what?
Because
Thank
it's
you.
so absurd.
I know, like, thank you for saying something, because they were talking about even from the age of 10. And in our world of only dealing with high conflict divorce and custody case and co-parenting situation, kids are really influenced by certain types of people, especially certain types of parents that aren't always doing the most helpful thing for them, but more about punishing their exes. And so I was so happy to hear you say, think about the impact it can have on a child years later if they make the wrong decision. So thank you so much for coming on and continuing our conversation. Before you even introduce yourself, I wanted to ask you, since there's such debate about the voice of the child when it comes to situations like these, how do we even tell when a child has like a legitimate voice and is saying what they really want versus being put into a position of being a messenger for what one parent wants? Is there a way to tell the difference?
So I am a guardian ad litem. That means I am an expert in the best interest of the child, and I deal with children and therapists and parents regularly. The biggest telltale factor for me is that if they are parroting something they heard that another parent, the parent has already told me. So I've already had my interview with the parent, and the parent is saying X, Y, and Z, and this 10-year-old is saying X, Y, and Z, or they're talking outside of talking about language and court language that they just shouldn't know, using terms of art that they just shouldn't know. And that helps me to know that they are simply parroting what a parent told them.
Yeah,
Even
yeah.
when it's my, no, I really feel like this. I really feel like this. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, we there's a term for that we use called borrowed scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Taking
Yeah.
language that's outside of how they are developmentally and words that they would never normally use, and it
Right.
sounds artificial. So now let's have you introduce yourself. Besides being a guardian ad litem, tell us a little bit about your background and why you're so passionate about this issue.
All right, very good. So I am a family law attorney. I own a boutique law firm in Atlanta, Georgia. So we have two locations, one in Lawrenceville and one in Atlanta proper. I practice family law solely, so I don't mix it with like personal injury or criminal law and family law. I have an area where I deal with high net worth divorces and high net worth clients and provide general counsel there. My heart and my love is with the children. And I do find that children are underrepresented or placed in the position to be adult, to make adult decisions. And so that's why I jumped into the role of guardian when it was offered to me. So
Yeah. So I have my list of questions, but we already got a really good one. I don't know if you can see it, but I'll just ask it to you. What if the child is articulate and both parents report their side to you? But if the child is like advanced for their age?
so advancement is not what I'm talking about, right? Like I've had kids as young as 2 be able to read me stories. So advancement is not what I'm talking about. There are terms of art that you don't know but for being a part of the litigation, right? So
Mhm.
you should not know I want a 50-50 custody schedule, right? I get
Right.
so Haley, I get all riled up. So I don't want you to think you think I'm being self-passionate or whatever, but I do get riled up. But like a child should not tell me I want 50-50. The minute a child starts describing the custody arrangement that he wants, I know that he's been influenced, right? Or now, if they say like, and I'm trying to maintain confidences here, but if they say something like, like I love hanging out with my dad, but I do kind of want to be with my mom more. That's okay, right? But then I ask the question, like, hey, why? Why do you want to be with mom more? And
Mhm.
sometimes it's as simple. You're dealing with an 8-year-old. She's like, my mom takes me to the nail salon. And that's fair for an 8-year-old, right?
Right.
But if
Right.
she starts talking about, and I guess
Oh, wait a sec, Crystal, your volume went off for a second.
Oh gosh. Did you? Okay.
Okay, yep, you can't come back. Yep, that's
Sorry, I
fine.
thought I had my notifications turned off. But if she
Yeah.
starts talking about, well, mom's work schedule doesn't allow for her to be at my ballet, it's okay to know that she's not at ballet. It's not okay to make the connection that it's her work schedule,
Mhm.
that you know what I mean. And
Yeah.
so those are types of things that are more telltale for me.
Yeah, yeah. Great examples too. So another thing is like people say, and I know New Jersey just changed some laws pretty recently. Someone that we know there, the judge said the child's voice is going to carry the day. And there's a lot of controversy about it. And so at what age do you think, in your experience, and Georgia's a little different from the rest of the country because we know at 14, not that it matters for everything, but kids can really express that preference of where they want to live. But is there a certain age or developmental stage where you feel like we'll take it a little more seriously? Or is it about what you said? If somebody, it doesn't matter how old someone is, if they're parroting what the other parent says, then it shouldn't be taken as seriously.
So I'm going to say this right now. I am so glad you continued to talk after saying what the judge said, because I was raging and it was going to come out. So I'm glad I got a chance to like calm down.
You can express your rage. I mean, that's what
Because
drew me
what
to
did
you.
you mean?
Yeah, yeah.
I would have immediately, like as a guardian, even as a practitioner, I would have immediately said, and what do you have in place to address the fallout? Because there is going to be fallout with this child. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but this child might be 25 years old, alienated from a parent, and saying, if that judge had not let me choose at 10 years old. And that's what people are missing. And
Mhm.
they want to come to court and they want to say, oh, the literature shows, the research shows, but you read one article and now you're an expert. You're not in here in the field doing it. Anyway, moving on. I don't think so. Georgia's is this at 11, you can do what's called an affidavit of election, and judges hate it. So I have stopped doing that as the practitioner. I've stopped having kids sign and say where they want to live or with whom they
Mm.
want to live. And so, and what that is, and so when I used to do it, I would have them just, meet with, or have them meet with someone else, but fill out my form that essentially just says, I want to live with dad and here's why. So when
Mhm.
people who still do it for me, they'll come in at the child at 11 or any age older than 11, and they'll have them fill out the affidavit of election. But I refuse to just make a kid sign it, right? So, and I wouldn't hire attorneys who would. So I would sit down and tell the kid they don't have to sign it. You don't have to make a
Mhm.
choice. You can let the chips fall where they may. And I had a lot of angry parents after that, because people would usher people and other attorneys like, we hired you to get them to sign it. No, you didn't. You hired me to take the election. I'm going to do my duty as a protector of the child to say you don't have to do this. And sometimes they would walk away and say, oh, I don't want to sign it then. And other times they would just sign and not put any specifics, but I want to live with dad or whatever. That starts at 11. But at
Mhm.
11, it wasn't determinative, right? So you could say whatever. At 14, it's more determinative, but it's the best interest of the child still controls. So what we do is we still do that analysis. I have been hired in custody cases for kids as old as 17, and I'm not
Mhm.
kidding. And so, and I
Yeah.
can appreciate that, right? Like one attorney is, angry because we have a 17-year-old, and why would the judge appoint a guardian? Because I need to talk to the 17-year-old. Are you electing to live with mom because she's going to let you have boys over? Right? Like, is that a thing? If she's going to, let you smoke at the house? Are you electing to live with mom because you guys have a bond and it has nothing to do with alienating from dad? But this is the person who, I can do makeup with. And it can be something silly. It doesn't have to be something like so life changing. It could
Right.
be,
But
mommy,
it's true. Like it's real. That
yeah,
reason is real.
yeah, that's fair to me. But I don't want, if dad is alleging, well, mom has marijuana in her house and lets this child do edibles. Well, we don't want a 17-year-old doing edibles. And
Mhm.
so that's why I go and I do my investigation. So I feel I'm the worst on the stand. So I've gone really far off the question.
I bet
But
you can't control your face either.
no, 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 no. I'm often taken aback by some of the things that I hear practitioners say in defense of their clients.
Mhm.
But I don't know that there is an age where I think that kids should just be able to make a blanket decision. Like I said, I've dealt with 17-year-olds who
Mhm.
have been in some sticky situations, and where I have to say, I hear you, girl, but I just don't, mom's lifestyle, and sometimes it's not like, oh, the child wants to do something. Sometimes the parent has a lifestyle that is not conducive to having primary physical custody. So sometimes we have like, addiction issues
Mm.
where, okay, I know that you're 17 and you can probably take care of yourself, but we also have a parent who loves you and has the ability to care for you even at 17, because she shouldn't be taking care of herself, or he shouldn't be taking care of himself at 17. And so then I have to step in. So I don't think there is an age where they should just be allowed to choose without examining the best interest.
Yeah, and as you're saying, the best interests, one of the big things I felt, the big themes at the conference that you and I were at was looking at the broader context, not just what the child says, but what is happening around them. And there was, I don't know if you went to, I think it was Katie Burnett's presentation. I think so, because we were talking to her at the end and she was talking about her 3 kids and how one said, I want to live with dad, but they hadn't asked the question, what would be the benefit?
Mm-hmm.
To changing physical custody, and it ended up being a disaster.
A disaster, because you're not looking, like, we have factors and every state has factors. And so the way that London does things, like, I want to go there and like shake everything up,
I
because
can see that.
it's so, like, the thought of your guardian just taking what the kid says, no, I don't take, kids come in all the time and say, like, I want to stay with my mom, I want to stay with my dad. And then, 6 months into my investigation, they're like, I kind of want to stay with my mom now. Like, once I start yelling at the parents to get off my kid, right? Like, stop talking to my kid. Once that stops and the kid can be a kid and they know that I'm protecting them, then they can just kind of say, Crystal, I don't care, or I want to be with mom or whatever, but you have to do that investigation. And if
Mhm.
we are allowing children to decide without doing a thorough investigation, we're failing them. We're
Yeah.
failing not just the children, but their children, because it's a generational thing. And so all of the trauma that results from a custody decision is now a generational thing. So I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. And I know, like, when we met you, we had our book there, our book that just came out, When Your Ex Turns the Kids Against You. And the
Yeah.
very beginning, there's a story from a very close friend of mine who, when she was a child, her parents were in a very difficult divorce. And at one point, the judge called her in and said, what do you want to do? And she said, I'll do anything to make my mom stop crying. And her father ended up giving up his parental rights. And it has caused a tremendous impact
Right.
on her life as a child, as an adult. There's a lot of guilt, and there's
It
also
happens.
some feelings about one of the parents for
Mhm.
being put in that position, and
Yeah.
people don't understand that. Like, kids might be loyal to one, but the truth comes out later, and
Yeah.
then there's lots of conflicting feelings, which is what you mentioned.
Right. And sometimes the truth doesn't come out, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes they're stuck there. And you may not know this, but I also, like, I fault attorneys. Right. And so I deal with attorneys who push their clients' agendas to the detriment of the child. And I
Mhm.
have, because I am very pushy. So I am like, this, you leave my kid alone. Right. Like, you want to send me all of this evidence that's trumped up by your client. I'm not buying it. I visit kids at their schools a lot so that they're a neutral ground. Like, I do visit
Mm.
mom and dad's homes, but I also go to the school. We meet in the guidance counselor's office, and they're always shocked to see me there. And then every single time, every time the child will tell me something that they haven't told me at either parent's home. Every time,
Okay.
without fail. Without
Wow.
fail. And so, because they're not, and I go in the afternoon, so even if they are a car rider and they got dropped off, they are a little bit far removed from that parent. And the parent, so I don't really tell parents when I'm doing it. I just arrange it with the school. I send them my order that authorizes me to be able to do it. And then I arrange it with the school so that they're not chatting with that child. The kid is like coming in from recess, like, oh, hey, Christine. And I'm like, hey. And then we just talk. And without fail, they give me new information.
Mm.
Without fail.
Fascinating, and it makes so much sense.
Mhm.
So another thing that we hear a lot um, is children always tell the truth. You agree?
Who told you that? I do not know. They
Oh,
never do.
oh, that's okay. So thank you for noting that, because there's people that say my child never lies, and we know that this can be very dangerous.
And that's not true. I think that And the child may not think the child is lying. The child is parroting, right? And so, or the child is empathizing. And like you said, you have these, because I've had this case where the child is like, if I just don't want them to fight. And
Mm-hmm.
then I have to remind, then I'm like, get my kid in therapy because these kids need to be in therapy because they don't need to be carrying your load. But also, that has nothing to do with you. And so I do think kids will, I don't want to say, I mean, they will lie in the sense that we know it, but they're looking at it as protecting. And so that's how they're feeling okay with the decision that they're making.
Yeah, it makes me think of the word fawning as like doing whatever I can do to feel safe.
Yes.
And they're the
And
ones
that's
stuck
it.
still going back and forth. So they have to do what they have to do. They have to say what they have to say.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the parents are saying it's the court that's making you go back and forth. It's the guardian. And so sometimes I'm up against, especially with like older kids, I have to push through like 13, 14. One of the parents or both of them have said like, I'm the reason that everything is so contentious.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have to like, well, I hear ya, you know, just
Yeah.
kind of work through that.
Yeah, I bet. I bet. So, we often talk about something called a loyalty conflict or a loyalty bind when kids are put in the middle. And you had said, think about the impact. That was the first thing you said when I said what happened with the New Jersey situation.
Yes.
What do you see as some visible impact on children who are stuck in the middle of things like this, where they're being pushed? Pick someone, pick who you want to live with, choose.
Immediate depression. Like, and I'm talking clinical. I'm not talking a sad kid. I
Mm-hmm.
am talking a kid who was doing well in school, and now midway through my investigation, I'm like, hey, buddy, what's happening? Right? And it's like they're okay. I don't want to play lacrosse anymore. I don't want to do that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen self harm. I mean, I've seen extreme. I've seen like self harm, like extreme self harm. And but it is because it's too much weight for a child to carry. And I'm talking big kids. I'm talking 17-year-olds calling me, screaming, crying, I can't do this anymore. And so, and then the parents are like, essentially, well, she shouldn't have anybody to call. What? I don't approve of you talking to my child at 10 o'clock at night. And it's like, you refuse to put her in therapy. You and
Mm-hmm.
dad are, you know, going back and forth, and I'm what she has. And I don't therapize these kids because I'm not qualified, but I listen and I'm
Mm-hmm.
there. But and then I can go to court and say, you know, kind of both of the parents are not doing well here. But that is the impact. That's the immediate impact that I see. And older kids and younger kids, it's I can see sometimes throughout the litigation, especially if it's a long one, you'll have a bright like 6-year-old who's so excited about you, so excited about you, and just life. And then they're only excited about you, right? Like, so you come and they're like, oh my God, I'm so glad you're here. Because I'll do like 7 home visits. Like, it's, depending on how long it is, I'm in the face. The minute the parent is like, oh, she's saying this, I'm like, oh, I'll be there Saturday. And
Mm-hmm.
so, and then I do fun stuff. I wear fun nails. I do things I'm
You
more
do. I've
engaged.
seen your nails. They were
But part of the reason I'm I do it is the kids freak out. And so it's the way that like a way for us to connect with them. But when I do that, then the kids tell me, but you have a kid who was bright and fun and loved soccer, loved volleyball. And it's like, but the parents are fighting over custody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
So the
so,
conflict really does bleed down onto them.
yeah,
So one of the things that I love that you do is that you work in situations where kids are older, because in a lot of courts, judges, people just say, the kid is too old. There's nothing we can do. And I know with our clients, I don't want to accept that we just throw up our hands and say, oh, well, you want to cut this person completely out of your life. And I'm not talking about abuse or neglect cases.
that's different.
Yeah,
Right.
we're not talking about that at all. But we're talking about where, for whatever reason, a child is rejecting or refusing contact with one parent, usually in the context of a high conflict separation, custody battle, whatever. Um, are there ways to persuade the court about the long-term impact of allowing a child to make a decision to just cut that parent out? Because I feel like there have to be ways to make a strong case to say this isn't just for now. I mean, yes, the court has jurisdiction until the kid is 18, for example. But if we don't do something at 17 to start working on this rupture, that's going to affect this kid's relationships moving forward. That's going to affect their ability to resolve or not learn to resolve conflict. This is going to this is going to affect their ability to have resilience. Are there things that you can say when you have an old kid as to like why we shouldn't just say, there's nothing we can do. If the kid doesn't want to go to therapy, if the kid doesn't want to see you, that's it.
So I don't take that. You're going to therapy, right? Like you're going to reunification therapy. I don't care if you sit there. I will get an order. I've never, ever, ever been turned down on reunification therapy. Nada.
Really? That was my next question because somebody gave that question. Yeah.
No. So parents will say, I'm not making my child go. You'll go to jail. So I will file. So I am very active in my, like,
Good.
I am very active. And so I don't just sit back. I will file motions for contempt and ask for your incarceration, and the other parent will get custody by default. So if they don't do it, if they don't just agree to go to reunification therapy, I will just move the court. The court's never going to say no to me because they know how I practice. And so I've never had that issue. That said, get an expert. And so now we're talking high dollar, right? But I would bring in an expert because sometimes you have to push for push in the reunification therapy. So the kid might go and sit there, and I have that happening, and this is why it goes back to the attorney's man, because I've seen it in my own practice where the kid needs this reunification therapy, and my client's like, I'm not going to make him. Yes, you are. I'm going to get off this case. You're going to make this, and I talk to parents when I am the practitioner and the advocate. I talk to the parents about, you don't understand what it's going to feel like to think your father doesn't love you. And he's spending thousands and thousands of dollars fighting for you, but you are letting this child believe because he got a new wife or whatever that he doesn't love him. So I am really hard on my clients, and that's what I said. Sometimes I fault practitioners because they let their clients run away with these weird things, absent abuse. I'm not talking about that. But if you get an expert, if someone is digging their heels in, I'm not sending them to reunification therapy, and you don't get a court order for reunification therapy at that final trial, bring in your expert, baby.
Yeah. So tell us, like, what kind of expert specifically is good for cases like this? Older kid refuses to go. Everyone's like, well, there's nothing we can do. What should I look for in an expert? What
A
kind?
psychologist, definitely a psychologist who deals with young adult trauma, because these kids by 22, 23, they're in therapy, or someone is recommending therapy, right? And these people have studied that. So I would bring someone in that deals with young adult trauma, and someone who has experience with it relating to custody decisions.
So this is not like getting somebody who specializes in parental alienation, which is a bad word in some circles, especially in this country.
Do
So
not
it's
get
not
that.
that. Right. So interesting.
No, judges are like, I know in Georgia, most judges are like, that's not a thing, move on. And so I
Right.
would get someone who specializes who doesn't even, like, this isn't about parental alienation. This isn't about what dad did absent abuse. This is about the impact on the child. And I want you to understand the generational impact if we don't address this now. And so that's what I would get, a psychologist who is well versed in that area.
Yeah. All right. Another question. What about super extreme, continuous false allegations and fake documents? These seem to be the kiss of death for protective parents and their older teams. The teen is even conned by this. So I'm guessing the kinds of false papers that are filed about how bad the other person is when there's really no documented abuse.
Okay, and so kids should stay out of the litigation. They should, but I mean, things are public record. So you're dealing with a 17-year-old knowing his parents are going through a divorce or custody modification. Maybe they're looking up those documents. And I guess, what's the question? How do I deal with the fake documents?
It just says, like, what about super extreme, continuous false allegations and fake documents? I mean, we know a lot of times when someone is, there's the silver bullet technique. You've heard of that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess for me as a guardian, right? And even as a practitioner, if you're coming to me and you're saying, I feel like dad touched her or whatever. Okay, so you haven't.
Oh, wait, the volume again.
You can call defects, you didn't, do something more, and you're just waiting until this litigation to bring those things out. But then if they did call defects, if they did go have the forensic evaluation and nothing came of it, then I'd bring all of that in, right? So it's going to be, you can't just make these claims.
Right.
I'm going to need to see proof. And that, even as a pro se litigant, as those claims are being put before the court, I would first deny those claims, but then on cross-examination, other than your testimony, what proof do you have here that these things happened? Because if you're saying a child was abused and maybe like, oh, well, touched over the clothes, so forensic eval wasn't going to show anything. Well, did you get the child in therapy? Right? Like, did you get, those types of things? And if you got the child in therapy, were you the only person taking the child to the therapist? Because
Mhm.
all of that's going to matter, because now the therapist may align with mom or dad
The
based
context
on,
again,
yeah.
the broader
Mhm.
context. Yeah.
Yes.
Um, let's see. Yeah. Oh, I was going to ask you, how common is it for people to use a polygraph?
Never.
Really?
No. Can't
Why
use
not?
it. I mean, I want to say this, in Georgia, you can't introduce polygraphs in court.
Okay. All right. Good to know. Because I did an interview with a guy who does polygraph. He's a polygraph examiner, and he was saying this can be effective with false allegations, but maybe more criminal court. I'm not sure. All right. The other thing is, let's say, so Crystal, you are in Georgia. You're not everywhere, right?
Right. So I practice, yeah, from Georgia. So I do international litigation, but one of the parties would be living in Georgia.
Okay, so let's say somebody is needing to find an evaluator or GAL to make sure that they are trained to properly identify if a child's been coached or to really do the forensic work. What qualities should they look for in that person? How would I find like a really good guardian ad litem?
So I would go with the court, right? Like go with the court. I would go with the court's person or my own, whoever, if you have an attorney, go with whoever your attorney is recommending, right? But then also do your own research on what this person specializes in. So if you have just an attorney who's like, I do high net worth divorces and I'm really big on the forensic accounting side, right? Okay, how much do you care about custody? If I could do custody solely and never touch anybody's money, I would. And that's my reality. So I don't, and I tell people that, like, I will hire out for the money piece because I care about the kids. So I
Mhm.
would look into the type of practice that Guardian Ad Litem does and the experience that that person has. And so when they start putting up names, or if you want to put up names for a guardian, you could just Google guardian, because I don't know that there is a list,
Mhm.
but Guardian Ad Litem's in Georgia, and then start doing your own research. When we talk about to someone who can see if a kid is determine if a kid has been coached, that's not our specialty. Like we're not experts in that. We're experts in the best interest of the child. So the coaching would come with a mental health expert. Now, obviously we can just in our interactions with the child and interactions with the parties, we can say, okay, this child has been coached. But the number one question I'm going to get on cross examination is, what training do you have in that, Miss Wright?
Mhm.
It's like,
Yeah.
so if you feel like the child has been coached and the other party is not backing down, I would definitely, bring in a therapist. And I think by the time you're in a high conflict custody litigation, you need a therapist for that kid. Because
Mhm.
I don't care if he's still making straight A's, still the number one soccer player, something's, he just needs somebody to talk to.
Yeah,
And
but that's
so
that's
you
that's
need a
so important.
therapist.
So that's the thing I think also trips people up is they say, well, the court or whoever looks at how my kid is doing in school. And if my kid is getting straight A's, they're assuming that there's nothing wrong, or they're
Yes.
on a sports team and successful. Like what would you say to combat that? That doesn't mean that a child is fine just because they're doing well on the outside.
And it would just depend on the results of my investigation, right?
Hmm.
And so, because if someone comes in and says the child is fine, and I meet with that child, and that child is like zoned out on the video game, because this happens with older kids, like, no, I'm good, I'm automatically like, you want to talk to somebody? Do you feel
Yeah.
okay about, how do you feel about the divorce? Because for bigger kids, you can ask that, right? Like, how do you feel about everything? Oh, I'm fine. I'm like, I want you to talk to somebody. We're going to get you to somebody to talk to
Hmm.
immediately. But if I were, because sometimes, here's the thing. Oh gosh, I'm trying to think. I've not had, no, when I'm in a case, I've not ever had an older child that I did not think needed therapy.
Really?
And I don't necessarily, they're either already in therapy when they come to me, or I have to tell the parents, like, this is weighing, just based on our conversations, I think this is weighing on him. And he's like, I got 2 more years. I'm 16. I can deal with this. And because kids, that's how they rationalize things. Like, especially really intelligent kids, I'll be in college soon. And they're not thinking about carrying the weight of this to college because it'll be over. I don't have to deal with it. And I think it just, I don't have specialized training other than my on the job training. And that's why
Hmm.
you have to have someone who has experience. You don't want to get a newbie out there because they may just look at, hey, he makes straight A's. He's, the president of the whatever. He just got accepted to Yale. What's there not to, to think about this kid? You need someone who's been around the block a little bit to say, yeah, I'm not fooled. Go talk to somebody, kid.
Yeah. Yeah. I just thought of something else that happens all the time. The alienating parent is interfering in the therapy where they're like, well, the kid doesn't want to be alone with you. And they're saying that they want me there at least for the first
Put him in
meeting.
jail. I need you to understand, I am the first person to ask for a parent's incarceration in this. And that may be horrible, but if you're interfering with my investigation, because it's not about me, it's not about pride, you are interfering with my kid being okay.
Mm.
So if I have gotten an order for therapy, and the reunification therapist is on my line, like, Crystal, like, I can't get anywhere with this kid because mom refuses to drop off. We got a 15-year-old, mom refuses to go to the Chick-fil-A, and she just demands to sit right outside the door. And, the therapist isn't going to make, she can't do anything more than say, hey, you can't come in the room. And this child doesn't feel comfortable. I'm never going to get anywhere. Or mom keeps canceling the appointments. All right, you want to play these games? What is it? Play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
Yeah.
Then I'll an action for contempt of the order, asking for your immediate incarceration or for you to abide by the terms of the order. And I have had only one person incarcerated as a guardian, but I have had that person incarcerated.
Yeah, that's good. So I'm thinking, why do we see in the rest of the country so often a judge will say, well, the kid gets to decide when they want to go to therapy with you, because you clearly caused this rupture, even when that's not the case. And so the child is leading the therapeutic process, and the alienating parent is saying, well, they don't want to see you. So too bad.
I don't know. So I have not ever run into that. And even when, and it's so funny because I'm a practitioner also. So I have had a case where my client was the offender, and he admits, like, bad behavior, not abuse to the child, but some bad behavior.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, reunification therapy, that'll help, right? And it's been a struggle, but opposing counsel was like, he created it, and if my client's the one who created it, I'm like, you're gonna pay for it. You're gonna do it around the other parent's schedule, not so much. I mean, if the child's in extracurriculars, around that too, but you're going to be so accommodating in this process. And so when I put it to a judge, like, my client will do whatever. You understand, the statistics of this person growing up without a father, growing up without a mother. We got to do something. And most times, if my client's willing to foot that bill and do okay, cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Because everybody loves when someone takes accountability, right?
Yeah.
Especially with their wallet.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So another thing that we hear is where we've hired a guardian ad litem, not necessarily for alienation stuff, just in general, we're in a custody battle. How can I prepare my child for an interview with this person? Or should they not say anything because it could be interpreted as coaching?
Do not say anything. I tell people, and it's, I don't think this is the smartest thing, so think of your own thing, but I tell my parents to tell the kids I'm their friend and I'm coming to hang out and talk to them. That's it. Some parents don't tell anything. Sometimes they're like, I'm not going to say anything, just show up. And it's funny because kids are like, wait, your mom and dad's friend? And I'm like, because kids aren't dumb, And
That's so funny.
But that's all I tell. I don't even, depending on this, if the kid already knows that I'm with the court, because before I got a chance to have my first interview, parents have told them, then I will tell them, who I am. But I really try not to. I went to visit a guardian kid one time at school, and she knows who I am. She doesn't really know who I am. I didn't think she did. And the school told her, your lawyer's here. And so she comes and she's like, they said my lawyer was here. And I was livid. One, I'm not your lawyer, but
Yeah.
I'm trying to do a thing here where they feel comfortable and cool. So
Yeah. Oh boy. All right. And then the big question is, if a kid is refusing contact or choosing to only be with that one parent, because so many people who will listen to this are that parent that the child is choosing not to be with, how should a rejected parent respond? I mean, we know there's legal and there's out of court. We talked a lot about in court, but what about out of court? What are some things you see might be effective to?
Continuing to reach out. Don't give up. Don't give up. Like if you, no, I'm not talking about to the point of like, you know, a 6'7" dude pushing his dad down, not wanting you at the basketball game. I'm not talking about that.
Mhm.
Don't. So this is the problem that I see when that happens with the parent. They get their feelings hurt. Baby, you can't get your feelings hurt. You are going to have to push through. You're going to have to remember that this is not the child. This is the other parent speaking. So if the child is like, you know, I don't want to talk to you, if the child sees you in public and doesn't want to speak, you can't just remember that it's not the child. Continue to reach out. Send gifts, not buy the kid, but like it's the kid's birthday. Because that they really come down. Like, you say you want to be around me so much. You didn't even send me anything for a birthday. You didn't even, right? Reach out. Hey, prom's coming up. You have your shoes. What do you need me to do? Right?
Mhm.
Because my mom's, because you hear this a lot. You're not even helping. My mom had to pay my class dues. My mom had to pay, you know, whatever. And so now it's they latch on to anything to say, yes, this parent is right. Look at you.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
on, and you can still live your life. Like you might be going to Spain and this kid is, you know, hearing that mom had to do another $300 for school while you're in Spain, right? Just check in. What do you need? And here's the thing. This is what I hate. And this is what I tell my parents. You can ask if you need it, but send it anyway.
Mm.
Because what do they say? I should have to tell you, you know, I need things.
Yeah. Love
And
it.
so just the check-ins, the, hey, I saw this, I thought about you. Remember when you were 6 and we went to the park, this thing happened. Send those things and don't get your feelings hurt if you're not getting a response.
So the thing that you just said about remember this, we
Mm-hmm.
also at that presentation heard about how memories can be forgotten. And
Yes.
so by reaching out and saying, remember this, or sending like a photograph of that time, it can help
Yes.
refresh memories.
It helps. And I have seen it in real time in guardian cases where the kid's like, yeah, I don't remember it being that much fun. Right? Like
Mm.
that sucks because they really did have, like, you're in Disney World, you had fun, right? So don't
Right. Of
say
course you
that like you didn't have fun. But like, and I can't do coaching to the parents in my guardian cases because they're represented most of the time, and I just can't do that at all. But I'm like, don't let this hurt your feelings. Like, don't not do it. Don't throw your hands up. And
Mhm.
that's I will say that here I have even some of my own cases where because I asked the question, you want to pay me $50,000 to fight for a kid who doesn't want to see you? Like, tell me why we're doing that, right? Like, this kid's 17. Why do you want to pay me to fight for this kid? And the parents inevitably say, so he will know that I fought. So at the
Mm.
end of the day, if there's ever a question about whether or not I was trying to be there, he will know that I fought.
And you think that does make a difference?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Hands down. Yeah. And it may not make it right in that moment,
Hmm.
but I've talked to enough people who were like, I didn't understand why my dad kept taking my mom to court. When you're 14, you're like, leave my mom alone. But now as you're an adult and you're dealing with things, you're like, okay, I
Yeah.
get it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, we see that a lot too. So, Crystal, you have been absolutely amazing, as I knew you would be. How can people find you?
So I am Crystal Wright Law GA on Instagram and TikTok. And then if you just Google Crystal Wright Law, I'm there.
Great. Thank you so much. And this is not going to be our last conversation.
Absolutely. All right. You have a great rest of
You too. Bye.